today's lesson. All right, so today we'll be talking about responsive web design, or at least the introduction. So this lesson, the responsive web design, will be a little long. Okay, so our discussion from today up until perhaps um, the mid today until perhaps in the middle before just before we end this semester, we are going to focus on the responsive web design concept. What does is we're going to learn how to design a web page or a website that will work with multiple devices, like let's say for example, computers, tablets, um, so come on, smartphones, iPads, so on and so forth. So that's going to be our goal starting today up until perhaps just before we end our semester. So again, make sure to listen attentively, and if possible, if you're using mobile device, make sure that you are on full screen. That means you will be able to see everything that I have here in my screen as well. In that way, since we'll be dealing with codes, since we'll be dealing with lots of codes, para makita niyo ang mga codes, make sure that I am on, or you are using your mobile device in full screen, and then you'll set it to auto rotate. Okay, and that way you'll be able to see me clearly. So there are only 47 of us out of I think 100. So I guess everybody's are just coming in a moment. So before anything else, let's. By the way, if you have any questions or clarifications, make sure to share it with the class. You can send your questions in messages, or you can also send your questions through our Facebook chat group. So previously, if you can remember, we've talked about cascading style sheets. So we learned about the basics on how cascading style sheets are done, or how it is being worked. Basically, we've talked about the different properties, the different attributes for CSS, and I hope everybody's doing their job, learning it yourself. I hope nga nagtuon mo. It's because again, we cannot discuss everything in just one sitting. If naaral pa sa eskwelahan, we can discuss it every day. But since we only have very limited amount of time, and you know, that's why I just have to introduce you with the technology or the lesson, and then I'm gonna need you to study it on your own. So that was last time, cascading style sheets, and this week we'll talk about responsive web design. So can anybody try to share their idea about responsive web design? What is that all about? Anyone? Anyone would like to share what responsive web design is all about? Wala. Maybe you have an idea. Go ahead, Asibo. Okay. All right. So that's very definitive explanation about um, responsive web design. But that is correct. But just to give for everyone who didn't read the definition, I wouldn't say responsiveness is about your website will work properly regardless if unsang a device yung gamiton. It could be either PC, laptop, tablet, or mobile devices like smartphones, iPhones, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the concept of responsiveness. So when we say responsive web design, basically it's about adding responsiveness to a web page means enabling the page to adapt to different screen sizes and resolution. So let's say, for example, if we're going to open up Facebook, have you noticed that if we open up Facebook through our um, most of the time we use our mobile devices to open Facebook, and if we're going to open our Facebook on desktop, lahi ang iyang itsura, di ba? but we know that it's working because we'll be able either of the ways, whether we'll be using um, smartphone or computers or personal computers or laptop in accessing the internet or the, let's say, Facebook, it works just the same. It works, everything is the same, or as far as the functionality goes, but they have different appearances. So let's try to take a look. Let's open up Facebook real quick, and allow me to show to you what that means. So right now, this is Facebook. Everything's working fine, and basically all the functionalities are in here. I can post, I can like, I can share, I can comment, I can go to different pages, I can search for a friend, so on and so forth. Now, if I wanted to view it on a mobile device, then here's how it's going to look like here. Okay, I'll be using iPhone 10. So this is what Facebook is going to look like if I'm using an iPhone 10, using a browser, diba? So everything's still the same. All the functionalities are still in here, but it's got different style. Lahi na iyang layout, lahi na iyang itsura, but everything are just the same. So basically, if I'm going to change it to, let's say, an iPad, so this is how the website is going to look like if I'm using iPad. That's it. And then if I'm going to use, let's say, an iPad Pro, this is how it's going to look like as well. And then if I'm going to use, let's say, a Galaxy S, phone Pixel 2 XL. Okay, Google Pixel 2 XL, this is how it's going to look like. All right, so as you have seen, the website, which is Facebook, is capable to adapting to different sizes or different devices. Of course, different devices have different screen sizes and resolution, right? So that is the idea of having a responsive website. Being your website is capable of adapting to different sizes, different display resolutions, so on and so forth. So just like in the example that we have here in this photo that we have here, we know that everything is the same. It's got one single website, but viewed on a different device, and everything is working fine. So for example, here the desktop na siya, it's since it's landscape, so all the layout are set to landscape. And then when we move to tablet, notice that here na atay tulo ka boxes. Pag abot diri duwa na lang sa tablet. And then when we move to the mobile device, isang galajid ka box na makita. That is being arranged accordingly. In that way, the viewers will be able to see it clearly para mas maklaro sa mga users, because generally smartphones or mobile devices are much smaller, mas gamay man siya compared sa mga desktop. That's why we have to set our website in a way that it will appear big, it will appear clearly to even if our user or our viewers are going to use mobile devices. So that is the idea about responsive web design. Okay, so while desktop and laptop displays are in landscape orientation, so we say landscape orientation, diba? Most laptop or maybe all laptop or personal computers, their displays are in landscape orientation, meaning it's got wide ang iyahang width, and then small ang iyahang mas wider ang iyang width compared to its height, diba? That's portrait or landscape rather. Many mobile devices can be rotated to show websites in both landscape and portrait. So it could be taller or wider, taller than wide orientations. This means that the designers and developers must design for these differences. All right, so as our goal as web designers, let's call ourselves designers because we're already working on it. So our goal as designers is to make sure that our website is we're going to design our website to all of the differences of the screen sizes and resolution. So again, our goal is to make sure that our website will properly display on desktop, on tablets, and on mobile devices like smartphones. Okay? So here are some of the common resolutions for laptop computers and any other devices. So resolution is indicated by how many pixels a monitor displays, and it will be one of the following: So for personal or laptop computers, these are the common resolutions for them. So obviously for personal or laptop computers, they are more landscape. Diba? Landscape ang mga laptop and personal computers compared sa atong mga smartphones na naka-portrait ang iyahang orientation, right? So here are, again, the common monitor displays. We have 1280 by 1024. This is called Super Extended Graphics Array, or SXGA. Okay, and then is one of the most common or more common nga screen resolution, the 1366 by 768. Most older nga laptops, katong mga daan-daan or medyo mga barato-barato nga mga laptop uses the 13 muna siya usually mga common. They are called high definition or HD screens. The 1366 by 768. So again, these are the more common nga mga laptop screen sizes. And then we have high definition plus or HD plus. The resolution is 1600 by 900. So this is height. And then this is perhaps the second or maybe another more common screen resolution is the 1080p or the full HD. That is 1920 by 1080. In fact, my laptop is this 1920 by 1080p. These are one of the more common screen resolution for laptops or personal computers or even our TVs at home. Okay, and then we have Wild Ultra Extended Graphics Array or WUXGA. That's 1920 by 1200. Although this resolution may be a little bit rare. Rare siya. Usually ako nabalaan niya na nga resolution or katong HP nga high-end nga HP nga laptops. Okay, and then we have higher resolution. We have 2560 by 1440. They are called QHD or quad high definition. So that is times 2 the resolution of the full HD. And then we have 3440 by 1440 wide quad high definition or WQHD. And lastly, and this is perhaps one of the mga giapastron sa mga gamers or just anyone who have medyo lalom-lalom og bulsa. A lot of people are now trying to look into the 4K resolution, which is 3840 by 2160. Again, that is 4K or ultra high definition UHD monitor. So we're not gonna be since we don't have 4K. Kinsa man ay 4K sa inyo habe? Murag naa dyan noon. Can you share the experience those who have 4K resolution TVs at home? Alright, that's good. So ako wala ko ana, but I have a friend of mine nga mag-goal ko niya kay iyang TV 56 inches guro to niya 4K dako kayo. Ya iyang buhaton magtanaw-tanaw ra sa YouTube mga video kato pa yung mga cringy pa jud kay mga video sa YouTube. Mag-goal ko niya ngano man kaga palit kag 4K niya mura na imong tanawon. Okay. But anyway, we're not gonna be worrying about the 4K resolution. What we're going to focus in our web designing is we're just going to focus more on the common resolutions. In that way, dito magdisod kayo. So we're going to focus in the HD and full HD spectrum. Okay. So again, our focus for those who are itong na mga laptop diya sa inyo ha, we're just going to focus on either the HD or on the full HD nga mga resolution. But those who doesn't have any computers at home, don't you worry, we have another option. Right, so these are the most common resolution for mobile devices, not mobile devices, but personal or laptop computers. And these are the resolutions for mobile devices. Okay, so as you have known right now, diba? Maybe let's say 4 to 5 years ago, our cell phones looks very different from how it looks like right now, diba? Layo kayong itsura sa itong mga phone siguro mga 4 or 5 years ago compared today. So if you can remember, if napamoy cellphone nga katong dili pa full screen, so usually they have 16 by 9 or 9 by 16 ratio. This time it's varied na. Lahi-lahi na. It's because of nagpausong atong mga manufacturer of full screen na mga screen sizes. So that's why it also affects when on how we're going to design our web page. So here are some of the mobile devices resolution. So let's say, for example, for iPhone XR, the resolution is relatively small, 828 1792. So that is the resolution, meaning that is the number of pixels for its width and its height. Okay, so that is width and height. So this is the width, 828 by 1792. That is for iPhone XR. And then for iPhone XS, we have 1125, 2436. So these are the resolution for iPhone or Apple products. So you just have to check on it. Maybe naamoy inyong device inani. Make sure to check, make sure to take note of the resolution, because as part of your activity, as part of your assignment, you're going to focus on the resolution of your mobile device. Okay? So if you have some kind of an iPhone product right there at home, please check the resolution. So it's been listed in here. Maybe dili siya updated because na may 10, na may 11, and 12, and 13 na mga iPhone doon. So you can just search it online, the resolution. All right? And then this is for the other Android devices. So we have here Nexus, Google Pixel, so on and so forth. So most of the resolution is on the 1080 spectrum and above. So if you compare na to, mas taas ang resolution most of the Android devices compared to the iPhones. Diba? Let's say, for example, iPhone 5, it only has 1136 and 640. And then we have here 1080 and above. All right. So take note of, again, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to determine what are the different screen resolutions that we have to work with. Okay. So in your case, I'm not going to let you design a website for everything, for all the devices. I'm just going to let you design your website according to what you have. So for example, if you have a example lang, if namoy Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, then you have to design your website with this resolution. Okay. Do you understand, or do you follow? Sir, how am I going to check if wala man diya sa imong list? So to check the resolution of your mobile device, just go to gsmarena.com or any other website. Actually, everything's there, but I would suggest to use the gsmarena.com because it's got more detail compared to other websites. So let's say, for example, my phone is a Realme 5 Pro, this one. Okay, so since this is Realme 5, it says here that the resolution is 1080 by 2340 pixels. So you can always check it yourself using the GSM Arena as well. So you just have to search it in the gsmarena.com. You'll find the resolution right here. All right. So far, we've only talked about the resolution. We've only talked about resolution here. But as you have noticed, we have a whole column of viewport. And if we're going to try to compare the viewport of each devices, viewport resolution of each device are different. Um, they are smaller, much smaller than the actual resolution, diba? So we have here, for example, Nexus X 6P. The resolution is 4040 and by 2560, but the viewport is only 412 and 732. So what exactly are viewports? So this is what we are going to run. You will have to take note of this because this is how our website is going to look like for our whenever we're going to design it for our device. So the viewport. Since mobile devices are generally smaller, well, that is compared to laptops or computers. Web browsers tend to enlarge the graphics it displays to make it easier to view by users. This is why mobile devices have smaller pixel counts for its viewport compared to the actual screen resolution. When say viewports, they are scaled down versions of resolution that allow sites to be viewed more consistently across different devices. Viewports are often more standardized and smaller than resolution sizes. Okay? So, nakabantay ba mo nga? Since our phone, di ba? Let's check. Let's say for example, our phone here is a Google Pixel 4, okay? 1080p by 2280. So, if we're going to really check the resolution, makain ka taas kay resolution, taas na kayo. But mobile devices are much smaller. Gamay man kaayo. So these pixels are being compressed very tight. That's why we can see very sharp photos in our phones compared to seeing it on laptops. Diba? So what will happen is, since mobile devices are much smaller compared to laptops, then tendency is ang mga graphics is mas gagmay pod. Do you agree? Let's say you have a 1080 nga TV. Okay, tanawin mo na kay 1080, or let's say 1080 or full HD nga TV. And then if you're going to watch the same picture kung mutanaw ka sa TV o sa imong phone, obviously mas gamay ang nasa imong phone because phones have very small size. But although it has the same resolution, but the device itself is very small. That's why graphics tends to be smaller in the eye. Mas gamay siya tanawon. Alright? So that's why we have viewport. So web browsers, okay, viewports are scaled down versions of resolution that allow sites to be viewed more consistently across different devices. This will allow the graphics to be viewed visually clear. So, iyang ginabuhat is iyang gipadag ko ang mga iyang gamay nga pixel iyang gamiton, and then the mobile web devices will just going to increase the overall appearance. So that's why viewports are much smaller than resolution sizes because they are scaled down versions of the resolutions. Now, why is it important, the viewport? Because this is what we are going to use. The viewport is what we're going to use for our design, on how we are going to design our website so that it will appear um, clearly, or it will appear, visible in our mobile device. All right. So let's take a look at here. Let's say for example, gingon dire sa atong table nga ang iPhone 10 daw has dara. iPhone 10 has 1125 by 2436. But the viewport is only 375 and 812. So let's check. Let's open up our browser. Let's open up Facebook and let's check its mobile version. So let's select iPhone 10 here. See, it says here, this is the viewport. It only shows 375 by 812 pixels. So that way, the phone itself, or the browser itself, will just increase the graphics so that we can see it in our end. All right. So if we're going to design our website, if you're using, this is only for mobile device use, for those who, if we're going to design our website for our mobile device, we're not going to be using this, but we will be using this. Okay. Do you get, do you follow? So again, for mobile devices, if once we are going to design our website for mobile device, we are going to use the viewport as our guide, not the resolution. Again, that is only for mobile device. However, if you're going to design it for computers, we're going to follow this. So we'll again the HD and the full HD. So this is what we are going to focus more on our designs. Right. So let's proceed. So setting up the viewport. What is the very first thing that we're going to do to set up the viewport when we are designing our website? So HTML5 introduced a method to let web designers take control over the viewport through the meta tag. So if you can remember, back when we're still discussing the HTML, there is one particular tag called meta. The meta tag gives information about the web page itself, and we're going to use meta in controlling the viewport. Okay, so every website, all of our web page that we'll be doing, that we want it, and we want it to be responsive, we should always start with this declaration. We should always start with this declaration. We're going to write meta name is equals to viewport, and then content width is equals to device dash width, meaning it is going to focus on the width of the device, and then the initial scale to 1.0. So always remember to write this always at the head tag of every web page that we'll be doing. So this gives the browser instruction on how to control the page's dimensions and scaling. All right. So let's discuss each of these. What is this for? So let's start with the meta name viewport. Okay, so basically this is a declaration that we are going to control the viewport of the browser. Ba? And the next, for the content, we have with device, width is equals to device width. This means it part this part sets the width of the page to follow the screen width of the device. All right. So since we don't know the device that the viewers are going to use, diba? For example, I'm using a smartphone here para mo-view ko sa Facebook. Maybe if mo-view mo Facebook, you're going to use a much smaller device or a much bigger device. Or maybe you'll be using a computer. So since since we don't know the device that the viewers are going to use in accessing our website, we have to make sure that our web page will automatically adapt to different screen width. So that's why we are going to set content is equals to width device width, meaning it is going to adapt automatically to the different screen width. Okay, and then the second one, the initial scale to 1.0, sets the initial zoom level when the page is first loaded by the browser. So nakatry mo ani nga pag mo view ka og inani, for example, mo view ko Facebook or any web page, and if gamay ra sa kaayo, I can always scroll down. Diba? Pwede ko mo scroll down, mo gamay ang graphics. Or if ganahan kong mo zoom in, I'm just going to scroll up and then mo dagko po yung graphics. Nakatry mo na? Yeah. So as you can see, this is the normal one. If you can see, there is 100%. Actually, 100%. Yeah, so this is the normal one. If we're going to zoom it in, notice that the number also increases. All right. So this part right here, kani, initial scale 1.0 will automatically sets the initial zoom level, which is 100% every time that you're going to visit the website. So bisan pag mo view kag any other website, it will automatically set to 100%, just like this. So that is the purpose of initial scale 1.0. Again, whenever we're going to design a website, here is another thing that we're going to make sure to add to our website automatically. All right, so let's take a look at the difference between the same web pages with different with and without the viewport meta tag. So here's an example of a web page without the viewport meta tag and the same web page with the viewport meta tag. So if without the meta tag, your website is going to look something like this. Basically, the picture will just going to adapt to its original resolution. However, with the viewport meta tag, it will automatically set to the width of the device. So as you can see, asa man ang mas nindutan ahon if you're using mobile device. Okay. All right. Obviously, the one with the viewport meta tag. So that's why it's very important to declare this first, because it will allow our website to be viewed properly or clearly on a mobile device. Again, our goal here is to be able to display our website on a mobile device. Here, ni-display siya, wala problema. Ni-display siya, so everything's working. However, it's not really that practical because the graphics are too small, the text are too small. So that's why we have to set it to something that will make it much clearer, just like this. So the first step is to set up the viewport meta tag. All right. So again, how to write that here. So I've already gibutang lang ako daan para di na ako mag-type while doing a class para mapaspas ta. So as if you can remember, we have the talk type declaration, and of course we have our HTML and head. All right. And inside the head, we have the title, diba? That's what we've discussed last time. And then if we have external CSS, we are going to include the external CSS here using the link tag. And you've noticed we have a meta tag here that says meta name viewport content width is equals to device dash width, initial scale is 1.0. So again, this should always be present, and that way we'll be able to view our website properly regardless of the device that we are using. All right, so that is the first thing that we're going to do is to set up the viewport. Next, all right, so this is the actual, the real deal is going to start. The the metadata, okay, so the metadata, which is viewport meta tag, can only do so much. It can only adjust some certain parts of our website according to the width of the screen, but it's not gonna be very effective. Muhelp ra siya ang viewport meta tag. Makahelp siya in making sure that our website can be viewed clearly on different sizes, but it's not going to do all the job on its own. All right. So that's why we are going to use a media query. Okay. The app media or the media query rule is used in media queries to apply different styles for different media types or devices. Media queries can be used to check many things, such as width and height of the viewport, width and height of the device, orientation, it can be either tablet, phone, in landscape or portrait mode, and then resolution. All right, so let's think of the media query as a conditional statement. All right, so maybe if you can remember back when we were still first year, I was your instructor for ITS 101, Computer Programming 1. So if you can remember, one of our topics was conditional statement. Not like if, else, so on and so forth. So let's consider media query as one of those conditional statements. So the media query will allow us to set specific design for a specific screen size. All right, what does it mean? So we will use media query. For example, we are going to set we're going to design a web, we're going to create, or we're going to design our website for a very specific screen size. All right. So again, that is what media query is for. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look before we proceed with the syntax and all. Let's take a look at the example that we have here. So is this looking familiar? So this is how we normally write CSS codes, diba? So we call the selector, we write it inside the CSS code or the declaration block. This is how we normally do our CSS, correct? Everyone? Ito pa ba ito? Samukan, putol na din. Okay, again, so media queries can be used to check many things such as width and height of the viewport, width and height of the device, orientation. Okay, it could be either in landscape or portrait mode, and resolution. All right, so when we say media query is about mura siya og we're going to set or we're going to design our website specifically to a set of, it could be either height of the viewport, width and height of the device. So let's think of the media query as a conditional statement. If you can remember back when you were still in first, go ahead. I will focus screen. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ms. Torres Bata. Okay, thank you for letting me know. All right. So, palig na lang kog mute sa... Okay, thank you. All right, can I makita na? Okay, thank you. All right, so again, media query is about, let's think of it as a conditional statement. If you can remember back when we were still in first year, katong sa atong C++, one of our topic is about conditional statement that if a certain, if, di ba, katong na if, else if, di ba? If a certain condition is met, then it will be executed. If not, then it will not be executed. A different method or a different statement will be executed, di ba? If you can remember, and if then we're going to set a condition. Then if that condition is met, then the codes will be executed. Else, if the first condition is not met, then it will try to proceed to the second option. But if none of the options will, or none of the conditions are met, it will proceed with the else. All right, same thing with the media query. So atong buhatan is we're going to use media query to to design a specific design our website specific to the resolution. So either of these conditions that we're going to set, either it could be either the width and height of the viewport, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's take a look at the example that we have here before we proceed with the syntax and all. So is this familiar to everyone? This is how we normally write CSS, right? Sakto ba? Diba? If you can remember, to set a CSS, we're going to use the selector. It could be either the HTML tag, or it could be either a class, it could be either an ID, diba? And then after that, we're going to enclose our declaration inside the declaration block. So for example, particularly for the body, for the entire body, we're going to set the font to Century Gothic. If Century Gothic is not available, it will proceed to Arial. But if Arial is not available, it will choose any sans serif ng mga fonts. All right, so this is how we normally write our CSS. However, if we're going to design our website nga mahimo siyang responsive, kinahanglan ta nga mo design it specific to the screen resolution. So let's say, for example, this is an example of a media query. So here, same thing, we have here the CSS and everything, diba? Same with the gap on the CSS, but there's one thing that we've added. That is, we added at media, which is here at media max width 900 px, meaning if we say max width, meaning if ang screen width niya is 900 pixels and below, then this CSS will be executed. Diba? Same siya sa atong if and else if na conditional statement back when we were doing C++. Now, this is the condition. So the at media serves as the if statement. At media meaning if the max width is 900 pixels, then this will be executed. All right. So let's try to check. We're going to don't worry, we're going to discuss it one by one, but let me just show it to you how it works. So this is this website, Money nga website ang gigama. This is our example of a responsive website. Right now, since everything is normal, sorry, I'm using mobile or I'm using laptop, it's on landscape. So this is how it works. So ang CSS nga gigamit is kani. Kani ang iyang gi-apply. Kani nga CSS. However, if you're going to use mobile device to view it, so to do so, right click, inspect elements, and then here, let's set responsive. So notice that so mo ni landscape. But the moment nga nagkagamay ang atong screen, nagkagamay ang iyang width, nagkausab ang itsura. So gaina ang atong navigation is naa diri nga side sa taas. If we're going to decrease the width, it changes to this layout. Kabantay mo? So mo ang itsura gaina pag naka-landscape, but if you're going to decrease the width, this is how it's going to look like. So meaning, di ba ang ako tong condition here is if, not if, but at media, but same function as if, kung max width is 900, meaning 900 pixels and below ang iyahang width, then this CSS will be executed. This CSS declaration will be executed. So therefore, let's check. Right now, we are in 812, 813, I'm sorry, 514 width. So again, ang condition nga itong giset is if 900 and below man, di ba? So if we're going to set it to more than 900, it will change back to the original look. 891. Makita ba ang resolution here? Kana? Makita niya eh? Okay. For those who are using mobile device. Alright, so if okay, bantay mo, 901, since 901 na siya, nibalik na siya normal. Diba? But if we're going to decrease it 2 pixels, okay, pag 900 na, diyan na siya mo change into ato ang mobile device. So this particular design, kani nga pagka-design na ni is this. Mao na ni ang design yan, nahusob yung hitsura into this. So again, if we're going to add 1 pixel more, it will change back to normal because again, the condition here is if the maximum is 900 pixel, meaning 900 pixel and below. So we can either decrease it, kanantang for example, for iPhone, unsa gitong iPhone dere, iPhone 10, 375. Ganantang pagka 376 mahimo siyang normal. So we can always change that. So we can say 376, I'm sorry, 374 na lang. So right now, let's save that. Right now, this is how the website is going to look like using iPhone 10, but if we're going to reload it, it will now change to normal. Although naguba siya, it's because we changed it that maximum width is 374, meaning this will only apply if the width is 374 and below. Okay, so again, if we're going to let's go back, if we're going to decrease the size a little more, then it will change to, so I'm just going to set it to responsive, and that. Right, na-gets mo yung idea on how the MediaQuery works? From now, let me save it back to 900. Again, the MediaQuery is just a backup lang. That will be executed if a certain scenario or the certain condition is met. So again, think about the C++ if and else if statement. Now, consider this as the if, and this is the condition, and this is the function to be executed. So again, let me show it to you just one more time. So let me reload it. So again, that is the landscape, meaning this is obviously since this is more than 900 pixels, diba? It says here 1371. Since this is more than 900 pixels, so ang iyang gi-execute is atong original nga CSS. But if we're going to set the width to less than 900, that's the time that this CSS, duwa man kabuk CSS ang gigama. One for normal, regular view, and this is one for 900 pixels and below, or for mobile device. Alright, so na-gets ra ang idea sa MediaQuery. Okay, so in setting up media queries, you can do it using the width or the height of the viewport, just like what I did, using the width and height. You can also do it with the width and height of the actual device. You can also set a condition with, maybe it could be either orientation or portrait, or you can go ahead and set it to the resolution. So these are the possible conditions that you can do with media rule set. MediaQuery. All right, so let's go ahead and let's understand how to write media query, how to write the media query. Okay, so this is how you're going to write it. First is, of course, you're going to write at media. Okay, it's always the first one. We're going to write at media, and then not or only. Okay, so we have not or only. So it could be either not or only, and then the media type, and then and media feature, and or not media feature. Okay, so don't you worry, we're going to talk about this one by one. So we're going to talk about what are not and only media, so on and so forth. And then same thing, and after we write them at media query, we're going to start with we're going to start writing our CSS code, but it has to be enclosed with two curly brackets. Okay, so let's take a look at the example that we have here. So basically, again, mao ni atong CSS nga itong nakatunan before, but the CSS is now enclosed with curly brackets after the media query. So this is our media query, and then the CSS codes are enclosed with curly brackets. All right. Now let's talk about what are these. So let's start with only and not. So when we say not, the not keyword inverts the meaning of an entire media query. So actually, it's not really being used that much. So basically, we're only going to use not if you decided nga nakagama na kag tanan codes, nasulat na nimo tanang codes, but then you decided nga edit na lang ko. And if you're not, if ganahan ka nga delete ka mo delete, ganahan ka din mo delete ang imong codes, then you're just going to write not. Again, it will invert. It will take all the bali dili siya mo gana tanan ba? Tanan nga codes mo imbutang dili siya mo gana. So same ra siya nga imo rang delete. But again, you don't want to delete it, then you just have to write not. Okay? So again, this one is just to revert everything that you've done for your media query. So we're not going to be using this as much. Next, only. The only keyword prevents older browsers that do not support media queries with media features from applying with specified styles. It has no effect on modern browsers. So okay, so again, it prevents older browsers that do not support media queries with media features. So this one is not really that much, it's not being really used good. It's because, again, it only prevents older browsers that do not support media query. So, kuan, since there are no more browsers that do not support media queries, so this would be considered obsolete. So we can just forget about this then, not and only. So let's proceed to the media type. Okay, so media type. Oh, napaday and. And the keyword combines all media feature and media type and other media features. So it's okay. Let's focus on the media type for now. You say media types here. Basically, these are the type of browser or client that you're going to use with the website. Diba? So it could be either browser, so on and so forth. So these are called media types. So these are example of media types. So we have all. So it will be used for all media type devices. Then we have print, used for printers, screen, used for computer screens, tablets, smartphones, etc., and speech, used for screen readers that reads the page out loud. All right. So basically, it is the media or it is the device where our website is going to be displayed. Okay. So all meaning all media types. And then for print, this is necessary if we're going to kana gani mo gama ka og website para web page nga para print kabantay mo ana kanang load slip. If you can remember when you were still first year nakatry pa mo load slip today. So at di ba magtalay-talay man ta ato og pa-encode, and then on the last part murag ako gani to mo print if I'm not sure if nakainom mo, but I was assigned on the printing. So ako take print, ako take perma sa mga usa ko kami ako si Sir Mark Julius Badoy ang naka-assign sa printing. So meaning kami mo print, kami mo permas load slip. So since that web page is intended for printing, then we are going to use print as our media type. However, since all of our works will be kuan will be displayed on the screen on our computers. So the media type that we'll always be using this time is the screen. So therefore, what we're going to do here is first is we're going to write at media and then screen. That is for our media type. So again, screen, it's because our website is going to be displayed for a browser. Okay? And then and. So and it will just combine multiple media type. So maybe, and I'm sorry, media feature rather. So let's talk about what are media features. So here, media features. Media features are the condition in which you are going to set. Okay, so it could be either, you can either use the height, width, naroon akong cursor, dara. You can either use the height, the width, let me change my color, max height, max width, height, minimum width, and orientation. All right, so when we say height, it is the default used for all media type devices. And then width, the viewport width. Okay, so a max width, meaning you're going to set the condition that it will only going to work with the maximum height of the display area, such as browser window, max width, minimum height, minimum width. All right, so these are the description. So for example, for max width, if we're going to, just like what I did a while ago, I'm using max width. So meaning, if ang maximum width sa screen is 900 and below, so that's the time that this code should be executed. So you can either max width or you can use max height, meaning if the height is, let's say for example, if we're going to say max height is 900 pixels, meaning if ang height niya is 900 pixels and more, then this will be executed. All right. Another thing, if we're going to use height, then we can just say height here, meaning if ang height niya is specifically 900 pixels, then it will be executed. All right. And then so on and so forth. And then one last thing is the orientation of the viewport, whether or not it is a landscape or portrait mode. So meaning you can control how your website is going to look like if it's landscape or in portrait mode. All right. So we're going to, don't worry, we're going to do that. We're going to try that later on. But I just want to clarify the difference between this. So you can use height if you want it to be very specific. For example, if we're just going to say width, okay, kana, media width is 900 pixel, meaning if gaina 900 pixel and below, this time it will only work if the width is kana one specific jud siya nga 900 pixels. So let's try. Let me open it up. So right now it's unnormal, although it's 900 below. It's because we set it to the we're no longer using the minimum or maximum width. We're using specific width, meaning this will only affect if we're going to set it specifically na 900 px. So meaning, kinahanglan tang pangitao nato ang 900 px. So let's increase this to 900. 899, okay. 899, and then we're going to increase one more. That's the time that the CSS will be applied. Okay, di ba? Kamantay mo? Kaya na, imbes nga 900 and below, this time, specific dito siya nga 900. If below 900 ako siya, mubalik siya normal. If may more than 900 ako siya, mubalik siya normal. So this one right here, let me just change it back to max width, meaning it would be 900 and below. So setting it to max, using the max or minimum width, it will allow us to, it will give us, kana ba ganing murag bracket ba? It will give us, kanang, at least, nalimot ko sa term, kanang, nasa bracket ba? Meaning it can work with whatever it is, nga mas adaptable siya, mas responsive siya, it's because it can work from 900 pixels and below. So if we're going to decrease the pixels that way, so it's the CSS has already been executed, and if we're going to decrease it more, the same CSS will still be applied. All right, so that is how when you're going to use any of this condition or media features. So we also have orientation. So this is an example. So In this example, it will hide an element when the browser width is 900 pixel wide or less. So we're using um, max width as our um, media feature, which is 600 pixel, meaning if 600 pixel and below, then the element will be displayed, will be hidden because we set the display none. But if it's going to be 601 and above, then this will not be executed. All right, so let's try. So let's have an example. We will use MediaQuery to set the background color to lavender if the viewport is 1080 pixels wide or wider. And then let's change the background color to light green if the viewport is between 720 and 1079 pixels wide. If the viewport is smaller than 720 pixels, the background color is light blue. Okay, so we're going to copy this code. So again, here are our media screens. So if the media is, or the screen is, minimum width is 720, meaning 720 and above, then the background color is light green. And if the screen is 1080 pixels and wide, then it's gonna be lavender. And then if delete it or else, it will be color light blue, meaning 720 and below, it's going to be light blue. Do you follow, guys, or am I talking too fast? Meron akong libog na mo, ha? Okay. All right. So, di na ako na i-code. It's because mo take siya time. So, I've already written it right here. I know we already know how to do it. So, anyway, we are just using an internal CSS. Diba? Wala na ko ni mauglain nga file for the CSS. I'm using internal CSS. So, again, by default, the background color is light blue. All right. And then if the the width of the screen is 720 pixels and above, diba? Because we set it to minimum width, meaning ang kinagamihan nga width is 720. So therefore, 720 pixels and above, the background color is going to change to light green. However, if it's going to be 10 pixels and above, 1080 pixels and above, it will going to change. The background color is going to change to blue. All right, so let me save this real quick and let's open it up. Okay, so it says here, the color right now is blue, diba? Unsa gayta atong condition? Blue. So because the minimum width, the width of my screen is 1080, therefore the background color is blue. Do you get it? Since 1080 man ang akong screen, that's why ang color niya, background color is blue. However, if you're going to if you go ahead and start to change it, diba? So right now, since the width is only 1056, that's why it's color green. All right, let's go back. Gaina, since this is 1080, that's why it's blue. But if we're going to change it to, let's say, 1056, which is below 1080, that's why it's color green, because that's condition here. That if it's going to be, we're going to change it to light green if the width is 720 and more. Diba? And 1056, is that 720 and more? It says here that we are on 1054. And the condition here, it says 720 and more man, because it says a minimum width 720. So therefore, this statement is true, or this condition is true. That's why the background color light green is executed. However, if we're going to move it below 722, we're going to change the size to less than 720 di, 722, 720, let's see what happens. So let's try to decrease the width. Let's decrease this slowly until such time that it will be smaller than 720. It will change to, ano wala siya ni-change. Hold on. Background color light blue. Dara? Okay. All right. So if we're going to change the width of the device or the width of our browser even smaller, as you can see, this is asa naman to? If can is more than 720 pixels, so obviously that is light green. But if we're going to decrease a little more, which is below 720, it will change to light blue. Nakita niyo ang difference? So, karon siya light blue, it's because either of these media queries are true, therefore kani ang iyang execute, di ba? However, um, depending on the width of our browser, it will ug unsa man gani width sa atong browser dito niya gamit niya gamiton yung either of these CSS codes. All right? So, that's it. Next, let's have another example. So we're going to use media queries to set background color to light green if the orientation landscape and is landscape. Okay. This time we're going to set the orientation. We're going to use media query and then we'll change the background color to light green if orientation is landscape and light blue if the orientation is portrait. All right. So again, I'm not going to code this. Just take a look at the codes that we're using and then let's try. Let me close this real quick. Let me open it up. All right, here. So we set it that by default the background color is light blue, meaning if it's portrait, so it's color light blue. However, if the orientation is landscape, the color is light green. Okay, so we also use another media query. So at media screen and our media feature is orientation and the value is landscape. So let's open it up and let's check it. Okay, so right now it's color light green because it says here that if the orientation is landscape, it will say light green. However, if we're going to change the orientation, so we can either, okay, here. So if we're going to decrease the width, di ba, when say portrait, mas gamay ang yang width kasi ang height, so it changed to light green. So there's also another way to do so. Let's go to inspect element, and here, you can use any device, let's say an iPhone 10, okay? And then here, there is an icon in here that will allow you to rotate. So right now it's on portrait, that's why it's light blue, but if we're going to click this, meaning it will rotate to landscape, it will change to green. Kita ba? Okay. So basically, although these are very simple examples on how media queries work. Basically, let's think of the media query as a condition na ma-execute lang siya depending on the condition that we'll set, depending on the media feature that we will set. All right. So let's proceed. Hold on. All right. So let's try. Okay. So we're going to start with our very first web page, and then I'm going to demo it, and this will also be your assignment as well. Okay. So it's already 2:13, so I'll be needing a few more minutes, or maybe half an hour to discuss the next activity. In that way, you'll be guided for your assignment. So your assignment is to create your very first responsive website, and we'll start with the navigation, and that's what we're going to do today. Okay. So actually, I've already created this, but of course, we're going to recreate this as well. So this is what we are trying to, hold on. Okay, so this is what we are trying to create. So again, this is the website. This is the assignment that we'll be doing. Obviously, you will be the one who's going to design this. You'll be the one who's going to change the color and stuff. So right now, it's on landscape or in its portrait or it's on PC. So that's why it works. It looks just like this. But if we're going to display it on a mobile device, and this is how it's gonna look like. So gaina mo niyang hitsura, this time mo niyang hitsura. All right, are you ready? Padungog pa ba ko? Okay. All right. So again, please take note because this is going to be your assignment. So let's start. So we'll create another we'll create another folder. So new folder, and let's call it my web, my site na lang sa. All right. Again, this time from this point on, we're going to start creating our own website, and then we will start with the navigation. And today will be the first lesson that will be the first step in creating our website. So obviously we're going to create our very first file. So let's say index.html. All right, and then let's write our markup language. Okay. What unsa gito pinakauna tong buhaton gani? Everyone? Okay. Doc type HTML. So I'm just going to write the structure, but I'm not going to write it all because mahurot atong oras of in code. So since I've already created this, I'm just going to copy paste the codes line by line, and then I'm going to try to explain it to you line by line as well. So let's call it my website, and then let me just add the title here and there, and then next is of course we're going to unsa lang ganito dapat nato ibutan, everyone. But if we want our website to be responsive, what is the first step? Wala pa sa H. Okay, katong metadata, right? So again, that will be meta, and then name. And then unsa lang ganito? Okay, viewport. All right, meta name viewport meaning we are trying to control the viewport of the web browser. And then content is equals to, salan? Anyone can remember? Okay, with is equals to device dash with, all right? And then, susunod, okay, initial dash scale is equals to, unsa? That's correct. Kinsa ganito? Kinsa Manaban. Okay, thank you, Ms. Manaban. Alright, usaram gud akong skin gigamit so dili okay tag kinsa mo story. Alright, okay, thank you, Ms. Manaban. Alright, so again, don't forget that if we wanted to create a website that is responsive, we should always include these codes. Alright, and then next is unsa man, let's later na lang to mo connect ag atong CSS. And then let's proceed. So again, I'm not going to write it all one by one because it's going to take a lot of time. So I'm just going to copy paste it, but I'm going to explain it to you one by one. Huh? Hold on. Okay, since I've already written it right here, so let's start with our first thing that we're going to do. Again, this is just the navigation. Kaninga part ba? Our activity for this week is we're just going to work with the navigation, this part. So this is how it's gonna look like on desktop, and this is how it's going to look like on mobile device. So only the navigation. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a navigation. Yeah. Let's write right here. We're going to use the nav element. And what do we write inside the nav are this. So first is we're going to isulasan nato ang kaning kani sila, and we will write it in a a list. We're going to write this in a list. So we're just going to copy it. We're going to use an ordered list, and then we're just going to paste it. So do you know, you already know how to write a list, diba? So first is you're going to start with a UL, and each of the list will be written with LI tag. All right. And then to make it a link, we're going to add a href. And then right now we're just going to add hash. It's because we don't have any location yet. Wala pa man tayo mga page na gigama. So for now, we're just going to write a href, and then we don't have any location yet because we don't have any other web page. So we have a list, and then let's see how it looks like for now. So right now we have this, diba? And then the next thing that we're going to do is, of course, we want to add, let's say, we want to add a logo. Kailangan ko nga na ay logo, and I'm just going to write I'm not sure, my nickname or the one I want to call myself. So I'm just going to write that one, and I'm going to use the um, label na tag, right? So here, that is inside the navigation, but above the UL, I'm going to use label, and then, okay, let me, Julius na lang, I don't, yung maglibog. Okay, so let's save that one, and then let's reload here. So I have here a label. This is supposed to be my logo soon, and this would be the navigation links. All right, and then next is, okay, all right. So before we proceed, I'd like to let you see first. Kabantay mo that if we're going to move it into a desktop or a desktop mode, I'm sorry, a mobile device, naani nga icon kani three dots, and it will only appear, the three dots will only appear if naatas sa mobile device, mobile view. But if in desktop, dili siya makita, di ba? Nasa three dots that if we're going to click that, it will trigger the animation. All right. So we're going to add this three dots. To do so, and we're just going to use a label again. We're going to use, okay, for now, no, hold on. We have Julius right there. All right. So for us to be able to create a trigger mechanism, which is this one, we're going to add this. Let me write it for you, and then I'm going to explain it. Okay, so we have here an input that is a type checkbox. Okay, let me remove all the selectors for now. Okay, so first is we added a checkbox, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, so we have here a checkbox, diba? All right, and then we're going to create a label, which is katong dot, which is intended for the checkbox itself. Meaning, if we're going to click this dots, it will trigger the checkbox. So let's save that, and then let's reload. So we have here a checkbox and the three dots. Diba? So this will just allow us to create a trigger mechanism that if we're going to click this dot, it will, whenever we click this three dots, it will check the box because the checkbox will be hidden. We're going to hide this, but we'll be needing this for the animation. So every time that we will click the three dot, the checkbox will be checked. All right? So mura siya trigger ba nga pag i-click nato ning three dots mo check ang yan checkbox. So bisag asa nato na ibutang ba nato na sa ubos? Hold on. So ibutang pa nato na diha. If we're going to click the three dots, dili lang siya tungod kay Ilalam siya sa UL. Now, if we're going to move it below, bisag asa nato siya ibutang, if we're going to save it, every time that we will click the three dots, it will give a checkbox to the checkbox. Or it will give a check to the checkbox. Bantay mo? Bisag diri na ako i-click, mo checkbox siya. Mo check ang iyang checkbox. Right? So that is the trigger. We are going to set a trigger that will mark the checkbox with that will put a check on the checkbox because the checkbox will be hidden. Bantay mo na ba tayo checkbox dire? Wala tayong makita ng checkbox. But we'll be needing the checkbox in that way. It will trigger the animation. Bagina na ba? Alright? So that's it for our HTML. So simple na kayo na itong HTML. We're going to work with our CSS. So let's go back to our web page. Let's create our CSS file. So same thing, we're going to name it style.css. And then let's write. For now, let's create the style for our website, which is for the desktop. We're going to create another CSS file for the mobile device later on. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix everything, and perhaps this is what the one way to do it is we're going to make sure that meaning pasabot aning asterisk is everything, okay? Tanan. So tanan ng mga padding, we're going to set it to 0. Tanan ng mga margin, we're going to set it to 0. And then text decoration is none. List styles. In that way, dili na ta magbalik-balik og enter ani mga di na ta mag-manual og remove sa tanan nga mga paddings, margin, and text decoration. We're going to write it in the very first part, which is can asterisk meaning every tanan ng mga padding, tanan ng mga margin, tanang text decoration, tanang text styles, and one more thing, tanan nga box sizing is border box. All right, so now that we have that going on, so let's start with the body. We want the body to set a specific font family. So for the font family, I want it to be this one. Font family is Century Gothic. If Century Gothic is not available, it will select Arial, but if Arial is not available, it will select any sans serif. All right, I'm just going to copy that and paste it. And then next, we'll design the navigation. First is, for now, let's take a look. Diba? Atong set nato tanan nga padding, tanang margin, tanang decoration, tanan. So let's take a look first how it looks. Ano? Dapat pa din nato i-connect atong CSS di ay, no? Sorry. So let's go back to our HTML file. Let's use the link rel. Kinsa makinamdam unsa ani pagsulat? Tara, link rel style sheet. And then type is equals to text CSS and then href, which is the location, style.css. All right, let's save that. Okay, so since we've set that all these text decoration will be none, meaning mawala ning underline, mawala na ning mga dots. Let's reload. Na, all right. So our color, our font is now changed to Century Gothic, and katong mga dots, katong underlines are now gone because we set it to decoration is none, the style is none. All right. So next is we're going to style our navigation. So first, let's write nav. Let's start with the background. So we'll set the background to this particular color. The height is 80 pixels and the width is 100%. So we're going to write it down, paste it right there. So by the way, for you to determine unsang color, if you're not very good in selecting colors, bisag ako dili kay ko maayo ana. That's why I often ask help from color.adobe.com. So this is the color palette that I'm using. You can always select whatever you want. So you just have to search, just go to color.adobe.com, go to explore and trends, and then search for whatever it is that you would like. Ganahan ba kag, let's say, Milky Way style. And you have to search for it, and then just copy the colors that you can find. For example, kani. So click on this one, and then copy the codes. So in my case, I'm using this particular uh, kani nga palette because I don't wanna ganan ko nga dito na ako din ako kinala mangitag color. Unfortunately, nawala. Asa naman to? Okay, nawala akong palette. But anyway, I already have it right here. So again, for the colors, color combination, just you can search online. Go to color.adobe.com. So again, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the background color to 24. Kani siya nga particular color, and the height is 80 pixel and the width is 100 pixel. Let's see how it looks like. And right? So this is how it's going to look like. So that is 80 pixel height and then 100% width. And this is the background color. Next is we're going to hide the check button. So next is we're going to hide the itong check button kani. We want to hide this because we don't need this. We don't want to display it in our website. So to do so, first is we're going to assign a selector for our checkbox. So we'll set it here. Hold on. Yeah. So since we set an ID that is check, so we'll call it. So since this is an ID, we'll use hash. So check, and then let's select display none, meaning it will hide the checkbox. Let's reload. Okay. Here, nawala na checkbox. Are still following? Okay. All right. And then next is we're going to design our dot, kaning dot na to, this one. So first is we're going to add a selector for our label nga kaning dot dot dot. And then let's call it, let's say, let's use a class, let's call it check button. Check btn or check button. So for us to design this particular dot dot dot, we are going to call the class check button. So since it is class, we'll use dot and then check btn. And first of all, we were going to we're going to set the font size to 30px, and then color to white, and then float right, meaning ato siya sa right ibutang, ari siya sa right hand corner, and then line height to 80 pixel, meaning it will have 80 pixels nga height, and then margin to the right, lagyan natin siya margin to the right, which is about 40px, and then cursor, meaning if we're going to point it out or hover to it, it will display a pointer. Let's reload, and then let's check. Here, nanata, di ba, nanadire. So here's our dot 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 is on the right side and it's color white. Makita ba? Dara. Okay. So however, I forgot that we have to hide this one because we are on mobile. Since we are currently on desktop, since naman to sa desktop, so we don't need this, di ba? We only need to display this only if you are on mobile view. Am I correct? Di ba? Dili na natin sa kinahanglan, it's because naka-desktop man ta. So we don't need this. We only need this when we are already on mobile view. So it's simple. We're just going to set the display to none. All right. Let's reload. Wala na siya. It's still here, but it cannot be seen because we displayed to none. All right. So next, let's design our logo. Kaning. Let's design this. So to design it, since we use label, di ba? As not on label, Jules. So we're going to give it a selector again, and then let's use a class, and then let's call it logo. Okay, logo. Sakto ba? Hold on. Okay, yes, logo. All right, and then so that we can change it. So to do so, we are going to call it. So since this is a class, we're going to use dot logo, and then let's start. So first is we want the logo to change its font size to, increase the font size. Let's say 30 px, and then padding left, meaning I'm going to create a space to the left side. Let's give it about 50 px. All right, let's reload. Okay, na. And then it's dako na siya, but we want it to be, we want it to be white. So I guess let's change it to um, color. Oh, no. Let's okay. Otro na to. So the first is we want to change the color to white. Okay, want to change the color to white, and then the font size. Let's increase it a little more. Let's give it about 35 px, and then line height, meaning it's going to be the height. Ang iyang height is gonna be 80 px. So the height is kuan ba? Iyang height relative to the header kani. So that's 80 px. And then let's have a padding na 0 at the top and bottom, and 100 pixel for both left and right. And then let's set it to bold. The font weight is bold. All right, let's save that and let's reload here. Okay, so it's bold, it's white, and it looks better. Okay, and then next, let's start working with our navigation links. These ones. All right, so the first is we're going to call the nav-ul, navigation, and then ul. So we'll call it nav and then ul, meaning the unordered list under the navigation. The first thing that we want to do with the nav-ul is to make sure that it will float right. Meaning, right now, it is, hold on, let me save that. Diba karon kapasunod siya paubos? We want it to be displayed vertically. So we're using float right. Nga wala siya ni gana. Hold on. Float right. Okay, thank you, Tora. Thank you for that. Kinsa ron? Kinsa to? Amaro? Alright, very good. Okay, so hold on. Logo nav UL. Okay. Nasulod siya sa nav sa logo. Alright, let's save that. Let's reload. Here. Okay, so nara siya sa right side. And then later on, ato na siyang bahigo na po nato siya binagsa. But then, for some reason, nibalik ang iyahang katong text decoration or least decoration. So it's okay. We'll move to it later on. So we already set it to right, and then we're just going to make sure na naa siya iyahang spaces on each side. So we'll say margin, and then let's set margin right, and let's give it about 20 px. Let's reload. Okay, kana. All right. And then next is para bulago nato ni sila tanan, bulago nato ang home, post, gallery, and about, and contact us. So to do so, we're going to open up the nav, ul, and then li. Okay, so we're going to attack the li directly, the list, kani, because we want this, kanang dapat sila magbulag. So to do so is we're going to say display, meaning inline block. All right. So what it does is this. The horizontal siya, this time magpasulod na siya vertically. So again, that is using the display. So again, let me remove that. Let's save. This is how it used to look like. But using the display inline block, it will display from horizontal to vertical. Okay. Next, we'll set the in. We have to make sure na masulod siya, matunga siya ani nga to ang original nga header. So since this header is about 80 pixels, so we're going to set the inline height, meaning mo adapt siya ani nga height sa ato ang navigation nga background. Since it's 80 pixel, then we're going to say that the inline height is 80 pixels. So it's going to look like, oh, wala siyang save. All right, it's okay. We'll get back to it later on. And then let's say margin 0 and 5 px. Let's reload. All right. Next is we're going to design our kaning mga navigation links mismo. So I'm not really sure why is it not okay. It's okay. I'll try to find the error later on. But for now, wala siya ni paubos. Dapat ni paubos na siya. Inline height. Inline height. Okay, dili inline. Line height. Ay, sorry. Thank you. Sorry. All right, so dara. So it's not inline height. It is line height. All right, so that mapatunga siya. Okay, and then next is we're going to set it to, we're going to design this right now. It's color blue. Let's try to change that. So to do so, we'll call, instead of li, we'll attack the a directly, meaning a. All right. To do so, nav, ul, li, and then a. And then first is we're going to change the color to white. We change the color to white, and then padding is about 7 pixel height and bottom. I'm not sure if, okay, 7px top and bottom, and then 13px with left and right. And then let's give it a let's give it a border radius of about 3px, meaning create tag box, and then ang yahang border radius is about 3px, meaning rounded ang yang corners. And then let's text transform. Let's change it to uppercase. To do so, let's use text transform, and then let's use uppercase. Let's save that. Right now, ang home, post, gallery, about, and contact us are small letters. We can always change that to capital letters by doing so. All right. So again, what we did is we changed the color to white. We set padding left to right 7px, top to bottom. I'm sorry, top to bottom 7px, and left to right 13px, and then border radius. Dili pa nato siya makita, but we will see it in just a moment. Now, we want it that every time that we will hover, meaning when we say hover, pag i-point natin itong cursor, it will display the box itself. All right? So every time that we'll hover it, it will display something else. So to do so, we are going to use the A hover. Sorry, A because we are trying to use A, and then hover, meaning every time that we'll hover to that to the link, it will display something else. So we want it that every time that we will hover, the background color is going to change to this. Um, I don't know, 7300707. 7300707. All right. So let me save that. Let's reload. So every time that I hover, it will display this particular color. Kita ba? Okay. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the box isn't really that kind of young edge is rounded young edge. It's because again we set the border radius to 3px. Right? We can either increase this, but I don't think it's gonna look good. So let's say 10px. Let's reload. Mas rounded ang young colors. Oh, it turns out better than I thought. So let's how about 5 na? Okay, that's better. Right? So we have if you're going to take a look clearly good, if makabantay ta, na siya 7px top at bottom nga padding and then 13px left and right. So here's what's gonna happen if we're going to remove the padding and border radius. If we're going to remove that, this is how it's gonna look like. Na, di ba? Boring. Wa siya ngay. So using the padding and the border radius, we're able to change it to this. All right. So far we're already done. I think we're already done with the desktop. So if we're going to, however, if we're going to view it on a mobile device, it doesn't look really good, di ba? Tanawa ra good. Kinahanglan patang mo move left and right para makita. In fact, dili kay makita tanan. So that's why we're going to fix it by creating another CSS that will allow us to design it on a specific screen size. All right. So to do so, we'll open up our web browser again. I'm sorry, our website, and we're going to create another file. So actually, we can just write it all in here. Pwede na ito ibutang dire sa ubos. Pero if taas na kayo ang line, syempre, if you're trying to design for mobile device, medyo magkataas samot ang imuhang lines, di ba? So better that we're just going to create a separate file for our media queries. So let's call it media.css. Let's remove that .txt. Dayong dirita mo gama sa to ang CSS. So we already have our style CSS for our desktop. This time we're going to create a CSS file for our media queries. Katong para sa tong mobile. Alright? So to do so, what we're going to do. So ito pinakaunang button. We have to connect it first. So let's go back to our main HTML and then let's add link rel style sheet and then type text /css and then href and then media.css. Alright? So let's save that. Alright, so unsa lang dito pinakaunang buhaton for our media CSS? Media query. Everyone? Ano po ba tawag yapon? Okay, please tingog mo kay basig nawala kong connection. Alright. Okay, so again, we'll be using the @media query. Alright. So unsa lang ni itong buhaton here? So we have @media, @media, and then screen, since we'll be using this for atong klarohon na. So how we're going to write it is we'll write it. Oh, let me change the. Okay. Again, @media. So this is given, and then screen. It's because we are trying to display our website in the browser. Diba? So @media screen and then we're going to set the media feature. So we will set that it's gonna be for a specific. Since we are trying to display it on a mobile device, and we all know that mobile devices have different screen width. So that's why we are going to set it as max width, and then the value, we'll check it later on, and then kana, um, curly brackets, and this is where we're going to write the CSS. All right? So, ngano gani mo gamit og max width? Sa ganit subot ana? Okay. So if for example, if we're going to say 600px, meaning the CSS will apply to 600px and below, since the maximum width man, meaning all of our codes will apply from 0 to 600. Ang 600 ang yung pinaka-maximum na width that the CSS will be applied. So this is how we're going to write it. So let's start. So at media screen and max width, and let's say kuan lang sa, for the meantime, let's set it to 600 because going back, diba, if you can remember sa atong discussion about screen sizes, we have here the viewport. For iPhones, ang kinadak-an nga viewport is only 400. Ano no? Kadalasan sa mga viewport here for the iPhones, ang kinadak-an is 414. Ang kanin 24 tablet naman 768 pag 768 pag tablet. Alright, it's okay. We're just going to set it to around 768 na lang. So meaning 768 and below, all of our codes will be applied. So we'll write 768 px. All right, and then close, and then the curly brackets. Okay, remember that all of our CSS will be inside the curly brackets. So what do we want to do first? First is we want the so may una natong buhaton ani be. Yan ko nga if we are on mobile view. Okay, the first thing that we want to display, the first thing that we want to do is we want to display katong atong three dots gaina kay namdum pa mo sa three dots. Di ba naman to siya? Three dots gaina. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to let it reappear. So since if you can remember our dot a while ago, katong dot is check button, class check button. So we're just going to call that dot check btn, and then let's change the display. Kay na kay none, karon let's display it to block. What it does is it will reappear. Hopefully, tara, it reappeared, diba? Because it's no longer hidden. Kay na hidden siya pag naka-desktop ta. Okay? But if we are on mobile, it will reappear. All right, so let's just continue to design it. As you can see, gamay kayo ang atong dot. So let's try to increase that. So let's say font size is, let's increase it. Gaina 30 something rato. Let's increase this to 50. And then line height, let's also increase it to 50. It's because our kaniron atong ba, okay, later on we'll discuss it nga ng 50 atong line height. For now, let's reload. Dako kaya akong name. Paggamit sa na lang nako ni ha, kani Julius. Jule na lang sa. Okay, so that I will just fix it later on. Alright, so I changed my name to just Jule because mausab ang yang hitsura. Anyway, we'll talk, in this case, magod, it must be a logo niya kay text mo itong gigamit. So for now, let me make it shorter para dili kayo mababato ang website. Alright, so the dot is now at the center and it's much bigger. So that's the first thing that we're gonna do. Next is we want to decrease. It's okay. Let me save it back to Jules na lang. Julius. All right. As you can see, maguba ang atong logo, so we can fix that. So to fix it, we can say label. Let's call our dot logo again, and then let's say, let's decrease the font size. I'm not sure if it's increasing or decreasing. Hold on, let me check. Let's check. Okay, and it decreased. We'll decrease the font size because it's going to be smaller now. And then the padding left will also going to left. We're going to decrease it. Hold on, let's check. Okay, na. So since we decreased it, na-fix na itong problem gaina. So gaina is, if you can remember, the padding a while ago for our style, here sa logo, ang padding na to gaina is 100 pixels. This time, we are just going to change it to 50 para mas magamay because since we are dealing with smaller screen now. Now, this time, we are going to make everything reappear. Ginanta nga mo display pag i-click nato ni. So what we're going to do is, hold on. Let's call our nav UL, and then let's set the position to fixed, and then width to 100%, meaning it will cater the entire screen, and then height is 100 vertical view height, meaning it will automatically adapt to the height of our screen. And then let's set the background to 730,707. That is the red color gaina. And then let's check that and let's see how it looks like so far. Okay, so far we have this. And then we'll try to make kaning home, post, gallery, about, and contact us to be displayed horizontally. So first is we're going to set the top to, how about 80 px? Let's see how it looks. All right, no need. Okay, we're just going to skip that. All right, and then, okay, let's set the alignment, text align to center. And then save that, reload. Okay, all right. And then next is we're going to target the LI para mabulag nato sila paubos. So nav UL and then LI, and then let's set the display to block. Let's see. Okay, dada. So by setting it the display to block, again we are targeting the LI now. So setting up the display to block allows us to set the set the navigation link vertically, or yeah, vertically. And then let's give it a margin of about 50 px and 0. Save that. Let's reload. Okay, all right, that's good. And then line height is 30 px. Check that. All right. Okay, that's better. How about if we're just going to remove this? I think this one's better, kani. What do you think? Is this better or kana? What do you think, guys? Asa katong gamay or katong dako? Katong we want to utilize all the space. Okay, go ahead. Sure. Kana. All right. So it will utilize all the space. So actually this is better too. Now we are going to increase the size. So to increase the size, I think we can do it right here. Let's try it out. Try that. Font size. Let's give it 150% buff. 100%, 150% buff. All right. Okay. So is that better, or do you want to increase it more? Okay, na ne? Okay. All right. So, however, we want this to be hidden, di ba? Ganara nga mo display ra ni siya every time nga i-click nato ang dots, di ba? So, although it looks good now, but we have to hide it. So to do so, let's go back to our nav UL, this one, and then let's first is we are going to hide it. So to hide it, meaning we're just going to move it to the left side at around 100%. Okay, negative 100. Hold on. We're going to move it to the left side, negative 100, meaning it will display to 100% to the side, the ring side. So let's reload. Na. Di na siya makita, but in fact, naargi na siya the ring side. Okay, we moved it to the left 100%. So to prove na naagi siya dito, let's decrease it to 80. Makita ay ang gamay nga part. Na, makita ay ang gamay nga part. So let's give it 100, meaning tanan jud niya nga part ato sa left. And we want it to display only if i-click nato ni siya. So how do we do that? Let's go back to, okay, let's, if you can remember, hold on, huh? Okay, remember that we have a checkbox a while ago that we just hid, that we just hid. Okay, we have a checkbox kanong dumong and a checkbox a while ago, and we just hid it. Ato siyang gitaguan. All right. Now we want to create an instance that every time nga i-click nato siya, di ba nato siya checkbox? Every time nga ma-click nato ang checkbox, mo trigger siya og usa ka function. So we want it that every time nga mo checkbox ta, mo trigger, mubalik siya, mubalik from left to the center. Mubalik ang atong navigation from the left side to the center. So meaning, again, if i-click nato ang checkbox, since although gi-hide man nato siya, so dili nato makita if naka-check pa or dili, but theoretically it's still there. So meaning if we're going to click on the checkbox, it will change this from left to negative 100 to 0, meaning patunga siya balik. So how do we do that? Remember that we are using ID for our checkbox. So we will write check. So this is our ID name, diba? Check. And then we'll call it an instance that if it's being checked, meaning checkan siya. So this is our ID name for our checkbox, and this is the instance, meaning if na-checkan siya. And then we'll use this icon, and then UL. So meaning, if na-checkan siya, muhatag ta og functionality sa itong UL or nav UL. And we want the UL to be, whenever we click it, we want it to set the left from negative 100 to, unsa siguro, para mapatunga siya balik. Everyone. Yeah, 0. We want it to be 0, meaning mubalik siya sa original. So let's try, let's save that, let's reload, and boom. Right? It works siya? Alright. Okay, however, actually we're done. We are done now. However, if you can see, dry kaayo. So we want to add a little bit of animation to it. Okay? So to do so, let's go back to our navul, and then let's give it an animation. Na siya delay, that it will give a transition of, let's say, transition, then all, let's give it about 5% nga second. Kada bang 0.5 seconds. Mo animate siya, mo transfer siya within 0.5 seconds. So let's save that. Let's reload. Alright, makita ng difference? So, nga na siya animation because nga na siya delay nga 0.5 seconds. So, actually, we're done. So, basically, this is maoning katong hitsura gaina pag naka-desktop siya, but this is how it's gonna look like if it's in mobile. Alright, questions so far? Galabad akong ulo. Galabad akong ulo, guys, ka mo. Galabad akong ulo. Sige, sige, don't you worry. I'm recording this, so you can watch it. Okay, I'm recording this here now. You can rewatch it and upload it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to send you a link. So you can go on. Pwede nyo mo tanaw later. Dili na ko ihatag ang code because it would be very easy for you, di ba? Ganan ko nga kamoy mo type sa code. So although you can say it, but you'll have to type it yourself. Okay, if isan na ko yung code niyo, copy paste lang ninyo, di ba? All right, so we're done for today. That is sa topic na to, responsive website, and that is going to be the very first step of our activity, which is to create a navigation link. And expect that next time we're going to upgrade. We're going to mo upgrade ta ato ning padayonon atong trabaho, and perhaps we'll proceed with banners and other elements. All right. So, do you have any questions before we end? So actually, gamay ra mga atong mga codes tanawa, ang atong gigamit nga codes para sa media CSS maora ni oh. All right? And then sa atong style CSS maora po ni. Mubo ra siya. Dili kay siya taas gyud. So it would be easy for you to do it yourself. Now, all right? Here, you might want to take a screenshot now if you'd like to. All right, so if no more questions, stand by for the assessment link. Actually, nanakoy link dire pero wala pa na ako nahuman ng assessment activity gyud. Nagsulat pa ko. So, but I'm going to give it to you. Basically, this is the link. The deadline would be Thursday, November 18th, 2021 at 1 p.m. And then for your assignment, I'll upload it through Google Classroom, but expect that you'll be doing something like this. Okay, so I would allow you to do the same format, the same style that I did, but I want you to change the color, change the contents. All right. So for now, please think of any content, any possible content that you're going to include on your website, and then you might want to plan with the color palette. So again, if you're not very good in selecting colors, just go to color.adobe.com, select the theme that you would like to do. Let's say, ganahan mo ani nga palette, i-open lang niyo na, and then just copy these colors, and then use it for your website. Okay? All right, so again, labad yung kong ulo. So let's end it now. Thank you so much for staying this far. Bye-bye mga student na ni end because some of them are having a class, some of them nahut na nag-data. So thank you for staying. I'd like you to please turn on your camera real quick before we end. Ako kong panyo. Wala kong panyo. Ay, labad akong ulo. Dati oning codes. Sige, ready? Hold on. By the way, basta yung tingala mo nga na wala ko check attendance. Actually, na ko attendance here though. So every time that every time that na tayo klase, mo download na siya og list. Here, let me show it to you just in case para makabalo mo. Mano wala check attendance, sir? Actually, I am here. So for today's attendance, here it is. Mone. So these green parts, mo nga time nga ni-join mo, kanang mga blanco, mga nang exit. So for example, si kani, taas, so good siya, join siya sa so good, then exit na siya for the rest of the class. Igo na siya na-join sa so good. Alright? So, that's it. So it will automatically be checked. Anyway, right? Please turn on your cameras. And then let me take a screenshot. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, smile. All right. Thank you so much, guys. And stand by for the links, for the assessment links and the presentation file. I'm going to send it to you as well. And then for the assignment, it will be posted in just a moment in our Google Classroom. Okay. Thank you, everyone. If no more questions, you may end now. Bye bye. I'm Ping. You're welcome. Bye bye. Bye bye.